The 1957 Fiat 500 is an automotive classic piece of design. Say the name Fiat to somebody, chances are they will think of the original 500. It seems then that Fiat are extremely good at designing small, inexpensive, economical cars. In the early 2000s, Fiat looked to design a new, small, inexpensive, economical car. So, in 2004 at the Geneva Motor Show, they showed off their new concept car, the Trepi Uno. And this eventually developed into what you see here today, the all-new Fiat 500, as it was then. As always with these reviews, let's start off by looking at accessibility underneath the bonnet. To open the bonnet, the little tab is on the passenger side, as with many European cars. And then little tab just to the left of the catch, and you lift it up. You then have this little stick which goes in just here, and that's how you open the bonnet. With the bonnet up, you can have a look under here and see how easily accessible everything is. Of course, you've got your battery just located there, so that's quick and easy to replace should you need to. Coils, coolant, then you've also got your windscreen washers just down there, brake fluid in this little bottle just here. You've got your dipstick and oils, things like that, very easily accessible on these cars. The only thing that's maybe a bit of a challenge in here are the spark plugs, because you see they are hidden underneath the air filter box, which of course air filter all located within here. So to access those you have to take this off, and that includes taking out 3 bolts, one there and one at the back of the engine. If you want to see how to do that sort of thing, I've made a video on my Fiat Panda which uses the same type of engine that's in here, so it's exactly the same process. I'll have a link to that at the top of this video. Lights, to change those, quite simple. Just pull out the little caps on the back and they're quite easy to get access to. The only issue really is the passenger side, where you're maybe a little bit more limited because you have the fuse and relay box just there. Other than that, it's all pretty straightforward and easily accessible when you need to do servicing and maintenance yourself. Getting into the interior of the Fiat 500 is incredibly easy. The door itself is nice and wide for easy access for rear passengers, more on that in a little bit. It also opens really rather wide. But when you sit in here, you obviously notice the first thing is the dashboard. The dashboard has been designed to look like the original 1950s design car, but obviously with more modern upgrades such as radio, aircon and electric windows. Let's have a look at some of the interior features then of the Fiat 500, and as always with these reviews we'll start from the driver's side and work our way through to the passenger side. With the door then, the most prominent thing that sticks out is the door handle. This has been designed to look incredibly 1950s or 1960s. I think it looks kind of like a 1950s fridge myself, but I think either way that is really cool. And the fact that not only is it the handle, it's also the door lock if you push it forwards as well. It incorporates 2 things, that's really cool. On the door you've also got your mirror adjustment. Down here you've got a door pocket. It's not very wide or deep particularly, but it is quite long. As I've mentioned already, the door itself is quite long, so it fits in with that quite nicely. There is enough room for things like sunglasses, as we live in the world we live in now. Sanitizer, breath mints, a phone, something like that. Either way, there's plenty of space for things like that down there. You've also got quite a large door speaker. Up here you've got a tweeter which stands out quite nicely and it produces a reasonably good sound. Moving on to the dashboard of the Fiat 500 then, you've got a fan vent which you've got plenty of directional movement and control on it. You've got a little pocket for car park change just down here. On the steering wheel, it's not overly cluttered with buttons, you've only got a few. You've got volume up and down, mute, change track on the radio and CD, and answer the phone. It stays incredibly true to the original Fiat 500 design of simple is better. It's not overly complicated, it's not overly cluttered. There's just a few buttons on here and they are mainly the necessary ones that you could possibly need whilst driving this car. You've also got your wiper controls just here, indicators, lights located just on here as well. Before we move on, really from this area, on the steering wheel is also the horn. It's quite loud, but quite high pitched as well. Very Italian, very cool. Up here, this feature I absolutely love on the 500s. The way how you've got the speedometer around the outside, and on the inside of it, you've got the rev counter. Now the rev counter sort of chases after the speedometer, and I just think that is a really cool piece of design. I really love it. It's fantastic. Anyway, can't get too caught up on these things, as much as I love them. We've got a car to review. You've got the radio located just here, and above it the vents, which all sort of fits into a nice fascia. It keeps it all in one little unit. Underneath the radio you've got 3 buttons which stand out quite prominently on the dashboard. You've got a city button. What that does in these cars is lightens up the steering wheel. You can move it around with one finger basically. Many people I've found who own these cars don't actually use it because the steering is already pretty light anyway, but it's there if you want to make parking even easier in town. You've also got your hazard warning light and your fog lights. Down here you've got all the controls for the heater. You've got obviously cold and hot, you've got the force of it, you've also got air conditioning which you just press in to make work. You've got direction of the air, which way it comes in, whether it recirculates inside the car or just comes in from the outside. And you've also got direction, so whether it comes out through the windscreen fan vents, you're also down by your foot, or through these ones to your face. You've also got the button down here for the rear screen heater. Just below them though, you've got the electric window control buttons. They're very simple, but it's actually a really good place for them, because what it means is if you're the driver, just lean over this side, pulls it down, and that way then you've got access to the passenger side, which is incredibly useful. It's also quite cheap to produce for Fiat because it means they don't have to keep changing over which side the buttons are on. Very good thinking. It keeps the car affordable for everyone. Of course you've got your gear stick just down here, which, typical space. It's actually in a really good position. It's easy access, very quick and easy to get to. It's a bit like a van really. Just down here though, you've got another little pocket just tucked away. Very clever thinking, Fiat. You've got yet another little storage pocket down here. You've got some cup holders here in the front, which, let's face it, they're not really going to fit bottles. However, they will fit cans and cups from coffee shops, things like that. If you do have a bottle, it would probably fit in the door pocket instead, so there is that. You also have a system down here which is Bluetooth, and apparently it only works with iPhones, so just bear that in mind if you're looking to get this car for connectivity with your phone. Bear in mind this is now an older model. Newer models of the 500 may be slightly different. You've also got a cigarette lighter down here, and obviously your 12-volt socket, handbrake, and you have 2 more cup holders in the back. Again, much of the same size as the front, so you're not going to store a huge amount in there. However, if we take the hand sanitizer out, you do get a little ashtray if you are a smoker. And when I say a little ashtray, it really is little, and that just fits in to your cup holder. So it's great in that if you are a smoker and you smoke in these cars, you can just obviously empty the ash out. However, it does take away one of your cup holders. Maybe not such a good thing in these cars. Alternatively, if you're not a smoker, you can just use it to store something like hand sanitizer, because of the world we now live in. Now usually this is the part of the review where we have a look at the glove box and open it up and have a nice shot of it all opening up and looking good. But in the 500, you can't, and that's because it's been designed to look like the original 500, as I've already mentioned, both externally and internally. And because of that, we're left with an under-dash tray essentially, a little space where you can put things in. It acts as your glove box, however, you don't get a little door to sort of hide things away in there. However, it is big enough. You've got room for CDs in here. In fact, you've got room for 2 CDs. A few little microfiber cloths for keeping your car nice and clean when you go to events and things like that. Obviously, keeping the windscreen nice and clear and shiny and everything else, but it's a reasonable space. You can keep quite a few things in there. But la pièce de résistance of this car is brilliant. I love it. It is under seat storage. You lift the seat at the front, then at the back, and you get a little space down here. It's a little secret space. I think that is really cool. Hats off to the designers of this car. That is fantastic. It also comes with An open top glass pane. Now I will say this isn't necessarily a sunroof, it doesn't open on this particular car. However, I think some models it does open. You'd have to check when you're having a look at one to buy. However, this feature was an iconic part of the original 50s cars. You see, with those cars, they didn't have much steel available to them to use when building the car. That's one of the reasons why the car itself was actually so small. So instead of having a fully metal body, they had a cutout in it to save steel, and over that they put a sort of cover, making it kind of a convertible in a way. It's obviously not fully one, but it does provide that pushback sunroof. And this, obviously, because that was such an iconic part of the car, has been replicated on the newer one. In this lounge spec you get Bluetooth, a leather steering wheel, air conditioning, a glass panel roof, split fold rear seats and 15-inch alloy wheels as standard. Getting into the back of the Fiat 500 is pretty easy. The seats go far enough forwards so they have got easy access into the back. Of course, the doors are pretty long themselves, so again, makes for a good, easy space to get in and out. When you're in the back though, you do realise you haven't got that much storage really. There's no pockets down here. However, you do get a neat little indent where you can put your arm, which does provide a little bit more space in the back. Although you don't have that storage, you do have a map pocket on the back which you can always put sweets and drinks in if you're a child in the back. And really that's the thing with the back of this. It does slope down somewhat, obviously due to the styling, so as you can see with me, not a whole load of headroom. As I say, children in here may find it a bit easier to have a longer journey in, shall we say. However, I imagine being in the back of this is not going to be too bad for a short journey. If we have a look, leg space in here is actually pretty good for me. However, I will say, annoyingly, the seat when it's pushed forwards and backwards doesn't return to where you left it. So this isn't actually my driving position. So that's maybe not such a good thing, especially if you're having people go in and out of the back of your car quite frequently. But as it stands, leg room is okay. I imagine it's obviously going to be quite reduced when I have it in my driving position because I'm quite a long-legged person. However, foot room, yeah, you've got quite a lot to play with in this, actually. Because the seats are quite tall, you've got enough room to move them around and adjust, so when they do start aching in here, you can quite easily get comfortable again, which is quite good. As I say though, headroom, yeah, not a lot of it. You obviously got these headrests which go up reasonably far, but again, not much good for someone like me. The windows themselves are quite small, but of course, for younger families, you do get ISOFIX points in the back here, so you can put child seats in here. Funnily enough, I can't seem to see this is listed on many websites when doing research for this video, so just bear it in mind, but this car definitely does have them. I wouldn't necessarily recommend a ride in the back of the car for a long time if you're an adult and you're quite tall. However, it's good enough for children and for adults for short journeys really. With that said, let's go and have a look at practicality in the boot of the car. If we move around to the boot of the 500, the button to open it up is just located under the 500 badge. Lift it up and you're greeted with a surprising amount of space in here actually. As standard with the boot, you get 185 litres and that increases to 550 litres with the rear seats folded down. So plenty of room for families and just anybody wanting to move things around basically. In terms of interesting features here in the boot of the car, you have a little indent here which creates a tiny bit more space, same with up here and here. But really that's about it, there's no hooks. However, there is one boot light and that's located just down here on the passenger side. In terms of the parcel shelf, sorry little donkey, gonna have to move you for a second. It's very small, but either way it covers up what you've got in the boot. And underneath the boot floor, you do get a space saver spare wheel, which is rather useful in my opinion. I prefer space saver spare wheels to having one of those tyre inflation kits myself. If this isn't enough practicality for you with the 500, you can have a tow bar installed in it and you can tow up to 400 kilos with an unbraked trailer or 800 with a braked trailer. If you're not a fan of towing trailers, you can have a roof box put on it and that with this will take up to 50 kilos of weight. To close the boot, you do have a little latch here which if you grab, just brings it down. and you can close the boot nice and easily like that. With this all said and done, we move on now to driving the car. Welcome viewers aboard the Fiat 500 1.2 Lounge. Now, as we mentioned earlier in this video, Fiat are exceptionally good at making small, inexpensive, practical, economical cars. And this is one of the best ones because it combines style with that as well. Now, the Fiat 500, as we mentioned already, it started life as the concept as the Tre in Uno, which stands for 3 in 1. This, as we mentioned already, was unveiled at the 2004 Geneva Motor Show. The design was then sort of refined a little bit by a team of people with Frank Stevenson, the chap who actually helped design the BMW Mini, who had been brought in by Fiat to style for Ferrari. He then went on to refine the design with his team, and that gives us the shape that we have here today. This iconic shape that's been around for what feels like a millennia. The Fiat 500 is a city car, which means it's Class A, and it was built on the Fiat Mini platform. This it shares with the Fiat Panda, which came out in 2004, so a slightly older car than this. The second generation Ford Ka, the Vauxhall Adam, the Lancia Ypsilon in continental Europe. We here in the UK got that as the Chrysler Ypsilon. So already it shares quite a lot with other cars. Over its lifetime, the Fiat 500 has been on sale in over 100 countries. It played a major role in reintroducing Fiat to the United States after 27 years away. This car was a big deal to Fiat at the time when it was launched. Because it was such a big deal, the 1 millionth Fiat 500 was made in 2012, and the 2 millionth 500, that came around in 2017. Only 5 years it took to sell 1 million models. 5 years, and then another 5 to sell 2 million. After 10 years of production, the Fiat 500 had won over 40 awards. 40. This includes the Car Magazine's Car of the Year 2007, European Car of the Year 2008, and it also won the title of World's Most Beautiful Car one year. And you can see why. It is a very nice piece of styling. Upon launch in 2007, the Fiat 500 came with over 500,000 customizationable options. That's a lot. And this was so you could make your 500 your very own. It was meant to be a styling piece. It was meant to make a statement for you. These options included levels of trim, colours, the interior fabric, the dashboard colour. As I just said, this was meant to make a statement. Customization was a huge selling point of the 500. It was certainly something to make the car your own. It made every single one unique and different. The 500 was originally created to try and take back its small car crown in Italy from Smart's 4.2. Fiat thought, well, we can make a car which is stylish, has that retro chic about it. It's also got a few extra seats than the Smart, so it's a little bit more practical. Fiat also did quite well in their range of engines for this. They had a 1.2 petrol, a 1.4 litre petrol, and they also had a 1.3 litre diesel available. Latterly, they had a 900cc turbo twin-air engine available, which was a bit of fun. This particular model is the 1.2 litre fire engine. No, not the thing that comes to your house when you have some flames in it. It produces 68 horsepower, 0 to 60 comes to you in around 13 seconds. Miles per gallon, that can be between 47.1 and 51.4 mpg. It's quite a small engine, so insurance group is low, insurance group 8. So how does it drive then? Well, steering's pretty responsive, even though it is electric. You'll always get more response with a hydraulic system. However, this is not bad at all. As I said, if you press the city button, you make the steering even lighter, which is great for town parking, although not many people use it because it's pretty light as it is. The engine is raring to go in this thing. It wants to go. Change down, put your foot down, it's a lot of fun. Okay, it's not the quickest engine, but as long as you keep your speed up, it can be a lot of fun, this. The suspension's fairly soft, but that's good, it provides a comfy ride. Bearing in mind this is not a sporty car particularly. It's just a sweet little hatchback that takes you from A to B in style. I still love the way how the rev counter chases after the speedometer. You really need to rev these engines out to get the most out of them. When you do, it is incredibly rewarding. I'm actually having a really great time driving this. Foot down, change gear, snappy with the gear positioning. Power on down. Oh, it's good fun, this. My mum used to have a 1.2 Fiat Panda, same engine that's in this particular car. I did drive it a little bit. I remember it was such good fun to drive, especially when you got to keep that engine going, keep the revs up. Before we end this test drive then, we need to mention who the rivals of the Fiat 500 are. Well, I suppose the largest rivals of it are the other cars on the Fiat Mini platform, such as the Panda of the same age, the second generation Ford KA, the Vauxhall Adam, the Lancia Chrysler Ypsilon. Outside of the Fiat Mini platform, you've got the BMW Mini, which of course, based on the classic Mini, incredibly heavily designed and inspired by. You've got the Citroën DS3, another cool, chic looking car. You have the Citroën C1, Peugeot 107, Toyota Aygo, latterly the Peugeot 108 as well. The Renault Twingo, second generation. And last but not least, the Volkswagen Up, Skoda Citigo and Seat Me. Let's go and park up now then and summarise the Fiat 500. The Fiat 500 then is a cool, retro styled and chic looking car. It is perfect in that sense. It fulfills its design brief amazingly. If you're looking for a cheap car to buy, to run, to insure, to tax even, because tax on this is £30, this is the car. This is the car you want. It's fantastic. Also, if you're looking for a first car, your answer is right here. Anyway, I hope you've enjoyed this video. If you have, don't forget to leave a like, comment down below, let me know what's your favourite feature on the Fiat 500. And of course, if you want to see more car-based content, don't forget to subscribe because there's plenty more of it coming up on the channel very soon. That's all for me for this week, so thank you very much for watching, and I shall see you in the next video. So until then, for now, I shall say farewell.